Yo, what's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Khalif Wins of the Making Better Track Show, here joined by the homie DiggaHertz. But before I even go any further, let me give you a little synopsis of DiggaHertz before we move on. You know what I'm saying? DiggaHertz, you know what I mean? He is a producer, songwriter, vinyl junkie, a Kai MPC aficionado, diehard Laker fan, and Memphian. But check out his tracks right now. You see that drum knocks? Hope the guy YouTube don't hate and try to flag me for utilizing his video on this interview, but this beast knocks. He has playlists on the MPC 60. B said he shows his professionalism and his skill set on different pieces of gear and playlists on his YouTube channel. Please follow him now at DiggaHertz. And I'm here with the man himself, DiggaHertz. Welcome to the interview. Welcome to the interview. Welcome to the interview. Welcome to the interview. We were having such a great conversation before I pressed record. I was like, no. So tell the people.
Bottle some of that up, man.
Yeah, tell the people about yourself, who you are, and primarily your origin story. Batman became Batman somehow. Superman became Superman somehow.
Right,
How did DiggaHertz come about?
So basically, I'm DiggaHertz. I am a Memphian. Like he said before, I'm a singer, songwriter. I produce. Surprisingly, I don't have any Lakers gear on, but I'm a Lakers fan. I've been a Lakers fan since the '80s, man. So I'm not a new Lakers fan, but I've been a Lakers fan for a minute, man.
Differentiate. Show the difference. It ain't no bandwagoner.
No bandwagon. I was hanging in there with them when they had Randy Fund as a coach, man. Look him up, Google him. Randy Fund with a P. But anyway, like I said, Memphian, man, producer, origin story, man. You know, I came up with like a lot of cats back in my time, my era, like, you know, on the pause tapes. Eventually more from the pause tapes to, keyboard production, and then eventually got into more like the more software based of like FL Studio. Then I graduated from the MPC 2000 XL, and I ain't looked back since. I've been escalating through time with different MPs, so yeah, here we are. So
wow, listen, and I'm telling you right now, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you, other than the fact that we've interacted on live streams again, but when you go through his YouTube channel, he's creating on different pieces of gear, different sets of workflow, and really banging out his sound. And that's the thing that's very difficult, even for a producer myself. Like, if you tell me, hey, I need you to jump on an old school motif right quick, and why don't you use MPC 60 too? I'm like, listen, I use MPC 60 too, but I don't play no keyboards. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how to do it. But so when you go to this channel, it'll be like a Kai Force, MPC 62, MPC Key, all variations of drum machines. How did you get to your particular sound? And before you answer that question, Memphis, it must be something in the water for generations. Now, I'm talking beyond hip hop, that there's such a musical essence in Memphis that surpasses and keeps on carrying on through generations and generations.
Well, growing up here, man, you have a myriad. This guy I met one time, he was from New York, but he was a transplant here, and we were I think I was headed to work one morning. I was probably 19 to 20 or whatever, and the guy was like, man, this kind of talent this y'all got here, you could throw a rock and you could hit a talented person in Memphis. And that's basically how it is. Like the kind of stuff we grew up on. Like, a lot of people know Memphis for, 3-6 Mafias, MJG, 8 Ball. The list goes on from the hip hop sector, but we're deeply rooted in soul music. You got the Stax. Stax was born here. You got
enough said.
Rock. You got Rock with Sun Studios and the great, Willie Mitchell. On the other side of the soul spectrum, Al Green is a fixture here locally. Then you got jazz, you got, you got so many different, sound beds here in Memphis, man, to where, you may find somebody doing rockabilly and they're dope. You know what I'm saying? It's a talented place with a lot of talented people, and a lot of the talented people don't even take their talent serious, and they just go to show you. But it's just a part of. It's just more so or less how. What we're exposed to musically. Like, we're exposed to pretty much everything here, and it kind of reflects in a lot of the music that we do. and perform here. So
Yeah, I've always wondered that about Memphis. I was saying to myself, they've always been talented for like decades. Was like music
mhm.
programs like the mandatory in Memphis, like at a young age, because the talent is like, for instance, New York. 90% of us can freestyle at the top. I'm being stereotypical, but it's true. A lot of us can rap like out of nowhere. That's
Right.
just a New York thing. Maybe because we talk crazy and we can put words together. That's just our thing. But when it comes to Memphis and the musicality, was there a lot of music programs, a lot of opportunities to like learn the instrument in Memphis, and that's why the talent's been that way for decades and decades and decades.
A lot of the programs we had early on, like I was a choir student when I was in high school, so I was in the
Hmm.
choir. Most of my friends were in the band. I had a friend of mine who was like a drummer in the band, and when I'm sitting on my front stoop, I can look down the walk and I can see him on his drums outside practicing outside because he couldn't do it in the house because his pops wasn't having it. But it's like it's just not so much as the programs that are around too, but it's just like at some point everybody wants to do something, whether it be rap, whether it's play the drums, or whether it's you know produce. It's like everybody has that bug, and plus like a lot of the program, like I said, we're kind of a band centric place. If
Hmm.
that makes sense. But like I said before, we it's so much music, different types of music here that you may get pulled in one direction or the other, and it's just based on what our exposure is, not just in the school system, but like outside of school system. Because a lot of we're in the South too, so a lot of people are church trained musicians that they play for the churches and stuff like that. So you're probably stepping out of school playing something that you might be the drum major, or the drummer at church, or the organist at church, or whatever. And we
Hmm.
had a performance art school here as well. The great Elise Neal, she graduated from Overton High School. So music is like life here. I should just put it like that. It's just life here. Whether you get it from a school system, or whether you get it from being at church, whether you get it from your mom's record collection, cleaning up on Sunday, playing music while you clean up the whole house, it's just life here. So if I to put it simple and plain.
No, because I've always wanted to visit Memphis. There's like two cities I want to visit because if you love music, there are particular places that you have to visit. I don't care who you are, where
Right.
you are. One is New Orleans, and the second is Memphis. I just
Yeah.
literally want to pull up to both of those cities,
Right.
get a couple drinks, and listen to live music for hours.
Man,
That's all
we
I
we
want to
get and
do.
we and we got it here. It's plentiful here. I should say that it's plentiful here.
So I
That
like
whole
to.
experience is plentiful.
Yeah, I got it. Listen, I'm speaking into existence. I'm going to Memphis. We'll link up. I'll meet. Hey, we'll make it a
Let
content
let
trip.
let let, let me know. Let me know. Let me know.
We'll do, but I play a game here. You know what I'm saying? It's like quick lightning question round. I'm gonna ask you
Right.
a question. You answer it. The first thing that hits to your mind, you answer it. I'm gonna move on to the next question. You ready?
Okay. Let's go.
Let's go. All right. If you had to work on an album with your favorite artist and you could only pick bring two pieces of gear with you to complete that goal, what two pieces of gear would it be?
MPC 3000 and core micro core.
Oh, that's classic, classic. All right. What's your favorite three hip hop beats that have been ever produced and why?
Little Brother by Jay Dilla. Uh, the reason why, because of what it took to create the beat.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the sample source, sample material for that album, for that song, it will blow your mind to how that was put together.
Mm-hmm.
Another track that I love is the After Party by Coffee Brown, produced by KG from Naughty by Nature.
Wow. You just brought me back.
That's a beat. When I hear it, I always feel like if I had to claim somebody else's beat as my own, that was the beat that I would want. So, the third one, maybe, maybe I'll say Conant Gardens by Slum Village, produced by JD as well, by Dilla as well. Just because of the feeling, the emotion of the track. You know what I'm saying? it just seemed like somebody like a theme or an anthem that you can take on as your own. So
Those are
those three joints.
those are very good sonic texture joints that have. I like those choices. I really,
Yeah.
you think, well, of course that, but you pick three very unique
Right.
choices. What's your favorite piece of vintage music production gear and why?
MPC 3000. It's everything. Um,
You said,
it's everything because coming from like the XL, you have filtering and all that good stuff on there, but it's just the texture of how drums sound in it. You know, it was you were able to dirty up something very easily with the 3000. I'm not saying you couldn't have done it with the XL, but it's just man, if you've ever owned anything like the 3000 or the 62 or the 60, you know what I'm talking about. It's that grit, it's that warmth. So I would say the 3000, MPC 3000 or 3000 LE.
what music software company do you feel is making the best impact right now?
FL Studio, hands
I
down.
I knew you was gonna say that because I was gonna say, yo, I agree,
Yeah,
and I'm not even an FL person, but the
yeah,
past year they've been knocking it out of the park, like
yeah,
completely out the park, and it's to the point where it's like, oh, I don't want to transition, but dang, they
right.
are listening to their community so
But
heavy, and I'm
FL,
loving it.
but it's one of the things that like I'll say around 2004 I picked up FL Studio for the first time, and this was pre YouTube, this was pre tutorials, all that good stuff. Is that, and I had to learn how to use it. Matter of fact, when I first, I'm dating myself with this one, but when I first got on MySpace and started posting my beats on MySpace years and years ago, one of my good friends, shout out to Joe Brasco, uh, he thought that I owned a 2000 XL then.
Hmm.
And he was like, man, the way you make stuff sound, I thought you had an XL. And I'm like, nah, I don't have an XL. I got this software that I'm using on the computer. But he said, but the way you approach it is like you had an MP or whatever. And so it was very intuitive to learn, but it was certain things from a sample aspect, excuse me, from a sample aspect that I wanted to, master. And like I said, it took me some time. It took me some, months and weeks on trying to studying what to do within the scheme of the software or whatever. So I got it figured out, and the rest is history with that. But yeah, FL Studio, man.
Listen. I agree. I'm an Ableton person primarily, but I got a funny FL Studio story
Okay.
because you said it took you weeks, but you got to get it down packed, and you really attach your work a great workflow to it to the point where it sounds like an MPC 2000 XL or better. Here's a funny
Right.
story. I'm dating myself, and the year 2000 was my freshman year at my HBCU. You know what I mean? And they had fruity.
Which school? Which school?
Oh, Wilberforce University. You know the vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Ohio. Yeah, yeah, Ohio. Shout out to Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had Fruity Loops one installed on a computer. I hated it. Yo, it was a nightmare because I've never been into the step sequence in production. Because like we said earlier before we started recording, I grew up on 24-second sampling between my turntables into two cassette decks, AOA cassette decks. Now I'm really dating
Right.
myself, right?
Yeah.
And doing pause tapes, and then that transition to the MPC 2000, the Tascam Porter, the old school. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when I got to college and I had no gear and it had Fruity Loops, not FL Studios, Fruity Loops, and it
Fruity
had
Loops. Right.
the step sequencer looking like old school Rebirth. I don't know if you remember Rebirth before
Oh
Reason.
yeah.
You know,
Reason. Right.
and I didn't want to program my drums at all. I was like, bro, I don't want to no. I'm so used to being with my hand that I didn't know how pause. Let's pause that. Let's a pause. Hey yo, no Diddy. Real talk, no Diddy on
No
that
diddy.
comment. No Diddy,
No
but
diddy.
what you will call it. Um I didn't want to click in my kick and my snare, and if I just couldn't get it and I threw it away. And then I was my first year at HBCU, so I'm not in front of my
Right.
computer. You feel me?
Right.
But then I saw FL Studio coming to the fold, then it started getting better and better and better. And then I would be in studio sessions. It got better, better, and better. But in 2002 or three, here's the funny FL story. I was about to be the SGA president. And if people understand this,
Hmm.
producers out there, if you've ever gone to historically black college, they have something called the HBCU think tank. It's usually housed in a HBCU every year at different HBCUs. And we went to North Carolina Central, NCCU or NCC. It's two
Yeah,
of them, two HBCUs.
no, it's you got you got NCAT and you got North Carolina Central.
Yeah, and I think it was North
Because North
Carolina
Carolina
Central.
Central, yeah,
And that was around the time Little Brother's first album came out, and Ninth Wonder had a
he
panel.
was in Raleigh Durham. Yeah,
Yeah, he had a panel. And here go my ignorant NPC self. I was like, he was saying Fruity Loops. And when I talk about a time where you embarrass yourself, but it was a great lesson, I got up in the forum, and in HBCU, the forums, like, it'll have people in it. And if you voice your opinion, get ready for the smoke. This ain't the internet where people get flamed in the comments. You get flamed in real life. And I
real
said
time.
vocally, man, FL Studios trash. That's not for real producers. And to his credit, Ninth Wonder ethered me educationally and respectfully. But it was a harsh ether. But it was like the butt whipping that you needed to shut up and learn. And he broke down he's like, you don't need a drum machine to do this. And when FL could do this, it's about mastering your tools. And I hate this elitism. And he said this all the way in 2000. He says, I made this. He says, oh, I don't need no MPC XL to work with the artists I'm working with. And I don't know if he was working with, did the Destiny Child's Girl song at that time. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But he was working with a lot of people. And I got humbled, but I'm glad I got humbled, and I deserved it. And that's the thing. It's not like when I look at your YouTube page and I look at the piece of gear that you're using, the funk is still in your beats no matter the drum machine that you're utilizing. Your swing. Like, you notice, like, when you go through his YouTube channel, and everybody at DiggaHertz, go to his YouTube channel, and mind you, it's in the description. You can click on the link directly under this video and look at his. You'll see a level of proficiency and style, and that's the hardest thing to translate. Everybody can make up a boom boom bap, grab a loop, drag and drop, but he looks like a musician using whatever instrument, but his same style comes out within the variations of the instrument. And that's what I really want to ask you. Like, when did you fall in love and like say, you know what? I can do this, and I'm going to be determined to create my own style, because you have your own style, and that's rare in this production era where everybody sounds like a variation of everybody else. How did you come about that?
Man, I guess by happenstance, man. Like, when you learn, I guess when you kind of learn, when you are learning, I should say, you're learning at the feet of the masses. You're learning from Pete. You're learning from Premier. You're learning from Diamond. You're learning from Bomb Squad. Like, these are some of my favorite producers. Um, and when you first get on, you want to do everything like they're doing. But as time would progress, I think a lot of for myself, it's about just learning different ways to do stuff and kind of like experiment with different stuff. Um, I'm probably a hybrid of everybody I've ever loved, ever admired, probably, with a splash of my own, self within all of that, because I just feel like my approach when you talked about, the approach or the sound, basically, my approach, everything I use is going to be the same. Like when I'm, listening to music, or even if I'm out with my wife or something, and I hear something like, man, I wonder where that's from, or whatever. So when I come home, I'm already my wheels are turning once I'm in the car with her and she's talking, but I'm present physically, but mentally I'm thinking about getting home. And a lot of it is just me and just trying different stuff, man. And like, like we were talking earlier about, FL or whatever. Um, I learned a lot of stuff through trial and error. So if something don't feel right to me or sound right, I'll hit that button and I'll delete it in a heartbeat, because I feel like,
Oh man, you delete. I don't do it.
man, listen, I'm gonna tell you, man. Shout out to my boy Will, man. Will, we used to be we were a hip hop tandem, and he will come by the house sometimes. I'll be making beats and stuff, and I'll walk around. Me and him be having a conversation, and I'll go and I'll just start a new beat in FL. And he was like, man, what was wrong with that? I'm like, man, it don't feel right or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he like, man, listen, stop. He used to tell me this all the time, man. Stop deleting these beats. He said, man, because you may not want them in real time. He said, man, but if somebody is looking for something, you shopping beats, whatever, and they hear that, they gonna probably want it. Even though you might not think nothing of it, they might want it. And to his credit, man, he was really spot on with that, because years later, man, a lot of beats that I used to have this thing on Sundays where I would make beats to kind of get the juices flowing, so to speak. And so I would just throw those beats into a certain folder, and I wouldn't mess with them anymore. And when it came to shopping beats, this one artist, her and her husband, they were going looking for beats. She was looking for something kind of out there. So I'm like, well, I got a folder right here. We can click on this and go through that. And she ended up picking at least 4 tracks out of that folder. And I was like, I would never use any of this crap, but she used all it, so I had to get it out and polish it up, and then get it to her liking or whatever. But I know I'm kind of off the track with it, but
Nah,
just
nah, nah,
man,
nah. You going? You going?
it's just I think it's just man, like through time, just kind of studying and figuring out. Uh, I think a lot of approach a lot of my approach to music is based on how I feel, how I walk, how I talk. I'm a soul addict. I do a lot more than soul stuff, but it's just that it speaks to me a certain way and I hear it a certain way, and that's just how it comes out. So it's um, like I said, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I didn't learn from watching, uh, the greats, and just figuring out where my place in this is. You know what I'm saying? And people would say, "Oh man, this kind of sounds like a blah 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 beat." And, well, it should. There's an influence there, but I try not to or impede too much on somebody else's template, so to speak. So you know that's about it.
No, I mean, but I like the thought process because everybody has their workflow. And when you talked about,
Right.
I don't understand why a lot of producers don't just like keep it 100 and say we have a get our engines revved up, get the juices flowing. Because I think production is like a martial art. I always say
Hmm.
this. I always, as growing up DJing and being a DJ and producing, I always compare it to cooking and martial arts.
Hmm.
Why? Because martial arts is a combination of different styles, practice till it becomes second nature. Cooking is taking a bunch of ingredients, practice to create a meal that has a particular taste. Creating beats is taking a bunch of elements, practice
Hmm.
so that you can become proficient. It's an art. It's like
Right.
culinary arts, martial arts, production
Martial
arts.
arts.
It's
Yep.
the and so when you're talking about getting the juices revving, it's basically like doing a
Right.
workout. And the
It's like
match,
it's like having say a '78 Monte Carlo that's still drivable. So you're not gonna just go outside and crank the car up and
mm,
just go. You're gonna give it time to rev up. You might even hit the gas, man, and kind of get everything kind of flowing.
mm,
But you're gonna let it run for a minute and that's kind of like I'll sit in here, man, for I'll cut the TV on. I'll watch. Usually my TV's on Seinfeld or something like that. But um, I'll get an idea, or I just sit in here, man, and just fine tune some stuff. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me let me uh let me go outside. Let me go look at some records, because I'll buy records, man, and then I'll just stash them away, and I'll forget that I even bought them. So I have to kind of put sticky notes and stuff like that on the bags of records that I buy, because I'll just buy them and look at them like, okay, cool, I'm gonna use this later, and I'll be on to
same
something
here.
else. So
Same here.
so I had to
Guilty.
start. I had to get like a method of keeping up, cataloging what the stuff that I buy, so I could get in, so I can use that stuff. Because I was like, man, I didn't know I had this record. I was going through some samples of that, and I was like, man, I wish I had that record. And I was like, wait a minute, I do. I bought this record when I was in Alabama. Let me go get this record. So it's just crazy, man. But I just try to stay creative, and I try to create something every day. So I'll get up in the morning and create something. I'll come home maybe for lunch and create something. There, before I lay down, and I might create. So I might create 3 beats a day. On the weekend, if I got free time, I'm probably in here all day. I might go get something to eat, in between. But I'm trying to fine tune something or create something every day. So
So primarily when you create beats and your primary beat construction area is what, FL, or is it MPC key to FL, or is it
no, man, I hadn't used FL. Good Lord, I haven't used it this year, but probably but twice. So okay, so my keys is usually when I first got it, I was making beats in it crazy. But then I ended up getting rid of I had an MPK 249. So I ended up getting rid of the 249. And so my keys basically became my MIDI controller.
mm-hmm.
So we're using, 2.0 or whatever. And so I wasn't using it in a standalone function, right? So usually when I create, especially in standalone, it's gonna probably be whatever I feel like I hadn't used in a while. Like I'll have a whole week where I'm just using 3,000, making beats in the 3,000. Then I'll be like, man, because I'm so weird with this, but I feel like my equipment, my all of my equipment have conversations when I'm not in the room. Crazy. But I feel like when I haven't used anything for a while, I feel like I'm being talked about. So I'll like go dust off the, I go dust off the force and I'm like, all right, man, let me give you some burn or whatever and stuff like that. But I'm being funny, man. But like sometimes I'm just in a mood to do something different than what I've been doing for a week or whatever. So like I like to stay sharp on all this stuff. I like to stay kind of sharp. Like the keys is pretty much what it is. It's the keys. The keys, the Live 2, the X are basically the same. It's the same. With the 3,000, 3,000 is a little different. So with the
Hmm.
60, and the Force is completely different. So it just depends on how I feel for that day. So it's like right now I got the keys sitting in front of me. So I think I hooked this up Sunday to make sure it was the focal point. But next week it might be right back on the key bed on the drawer down here. So it just depends on how I feel. But it's going to always be a staple in the production that I'm doing because keys, bass line, stuff like that. So it's always an integral part of what I'm doing.
So the
If that
idea
makes
is,
sense.
no, it does. The idea starts in a standalone key, and then you go to controller mode to utilize what dial?
2.0,
Oh, the
MPC software
MPC.
2.0. Right.
Now that I've been regulated to to being forced to fall in love with the MPC software, since I'm used to Ableton and other DAWs to finalize the track,
Right.
because there's different types of MPC producers. There's the only standalones. There's the, like most producers, creating standalone, dump into their DAW choice, and then finish the fine
Mm.
tuning. And then there's the one that fell in love with it and they can work in MPC 2.0 software. What is that? When did you get comfortable in that software as your primary creation space?
When I got the Renaissance, I bought the Renaissance in 2012, maybe 2012. And again, you know, you had to get used to. This was new. It was new to everybody. Who, if you were using machine, you were kind of used to the controller, DAW dynamic or whatever. But with me, it was totally new for me. But the more that time progressed, everything got better within it. And so you're like, man, okay, well, and plus I was dependent. I had the Renaissance, so it wasn't a standalone. It was just me depending on this for me to translate everything that I was trying to do musically from this controller to the software that accommodates it. And when 2.0 came along, I think it just kept getting incrementally better. And so I was, basically living in that thing um, until I ended up purchasing the
The
Live
X?
2.
Oh, okay.
No, I bought the Live. I mean, I'm sorry, the Live 1 first, and I had a Live 1 for about all of 3 days, and then it completely quit on me. So I
What?
took that back. Yeah, man, it wouldn't even power on. So I ended up taking that back to Guitar Center and being vexed, being like, man, I hate a cab, blah blah blah. Fast forward, so I still had the Renaissance. I was still using that, but then I got wind of the X coming out. Man,
I remember
I
that
put together
feeling.
I put together some money real quick, and while people were waiting for like Zounds and Sweetwater to what I'm saying to make it readily available for them, I already found a cat like in Jersey that had one for sale. It was an open box item, hadn't been used. They just used to make sure it came on and demo some stuff, and I got it for I can't even remember the price, but I ended up getting it. And the next thing you know, man, the people amongst my collective, man, we like, oh, you got it? Like, yeah, I was showing them pictures and stuff and took pictures of it. And I think I sat in the whole weekend, man, just, mess with it because basically the X was basically the Renaissance, but it was standalone. So
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I'm already familiar with the inner workings of this. So all the X is what this is, but just the ability to be in standalone as well. So, like I said, just through time, man, like the software got incrementally better. And so like that kind of forced me to get away from FL a little bit because I was still in between, using my 2000 XL, my 2500 at the time, and then do stuff in I would do stuff in FL here and there. But I'm trying to think, man. You said something about Ableton earlier. So, well, how we were talking about FL, well, I'm sorry, Fruity Loops, the first version. That's how I felt about Ableton
I
because
understand.
they used to give you like when you used to buy the Pro Tools, the
Yeah,
inbox,
the light version. Yeah.
they give you the light, right? When I first installed it to my computer, I was like, man, I don't want this generic. I don't even know what this is. So I instantly uninstalled it. And the reason what made me think about it when I said the 2500 then, I was using the 2500 too. I had ended up buying one of those. And I messed around, I saw Jazzy Jeff on YouTube and he was using Ableton. I was like, man.
But
So
listen,
they made me go get that disc and load it back up and get the stepping with it.
let me tell you something. Everybody's journey to their DAW of choice, digital audio workstation for the uninitiated, it comes with trying out other DAWs and see what works.
Right.
Ableton, when I
Yep.
first saw it, looked like a kid's app. True story. I didn't like the color. I didn't like everything, but I went to a whole bunch of Ableton conferences around it. I think I started on Ableton 4 or 5. I
Right.
started way early. No, 4 or 5. And I had this job and I was an educator at the time and I got the educational discount. And I just bought it. And this is when it locked in for me. For anybody that looks at Ableton the way that I used to look at it, like it was like, what the hell is this? It's confusing. Ableton is nothing but they says, yo, it's just a Tascam Porta 4-track recorder, a loop maker. And once that locked in my brain,
I never thought of it like that.
Ableton has two sides. It has, I forgot, they have session view and linear view. Linear view is usually the track. The session view is literally a pause tape. Meaning, if I'm in your studio and I have my laptop and I have my interface and whatever's coming out of your MPC, we can lock the MIDI via Wi-Fi. Your MPC can go
link.
and it can go click, click, click. I can press a cell. It'll record as many loops as I want. Once it hits to that 4, that 8, that 16, so on and so forth, I can click it and it loops. That session view is a loop player. And then you press record in the global, the top record, and then it goes to linear mode. Once I got it in my mind that this is a Tascam Porta digitally, that's when it locked for me. And then when and again, not to do Ableton education hour, but for those who are watching, or watch the replay, this is how I explain it to all my friends that use FL and use the piece of equipment. If you're an MPC head and you've never used a DAW before, Ableton is the closest, quickest thing to it because they have something called Simpler. And Simpler ain't nothing but a sampler. You drag a sample, you drop it in Simpler, you can do whatever. You can chop, reverse, and everything's super quick. Drum Racks is nothing but an MPC, except instead of just having 4 effects, you can have as many effects changes as you want on it. And that's when I fell in love with Ableton. And then when I was forced in situations, and not to tell my true business, but in 2012, around the 2008 financial fallout, everybody lost their jobs in New York. And I went homeless. And I was hustling homeless as a producer. And for all the producers watching this, if you know what this life is like, if you really learn, and I'm going to get to this portion when it comes to you, and I'm going to transition this to you when you made your first sale. But every producer, when you make your first sale, it's like drugs. When you make your first sell on a beat, you be like, hold on, you giving me this much money for this? And at the time I was homeless. So I used to go to a bunch of studio sessions with my laptop, the heavy MacBook Pro, like the old school MacBook Pro, the heavy joints. And I didn't have I had an Oxygen MIDI, Oxygen 25 MIDI keyboard, the classic plastic cheap one. But the USB cable got messed up in the back where it wiggled and in the register. Then I learned if you click caps lock, you can use your keyboard like a keyboard. I destroyed my keypad. I used to have to replace the keypad after that. But I was homeless, hustling with Ableton. Sorry, I have a 10-month-old. That's what you hear in the background. It's all live. You feel what I'm saying? It's all live. But once I learned that, this was the sound in 2008 to 2012. This was the sound. What does every producer do? Okay, what's your bass line style? What's your drum pattern style? How can you create your quick 4-bar intro melody, your 4-bar, your verse melody, your bridge melody, your chorus melody? And I was like, boom, boom, boom. And I will put a 15-minute timer up, any studio session. Because I'll be like, hey, I brought the weed. Here, roll this up. Roll up time for some dudes took like less than 5 minutes. So I'm like, okay, that's the main verse part. And I utilize that tool quick. So that's why I'm super quick with Ableton. I don't need a MIDI controller with it. I don't need nothing. It's me and Ableton. But most people have that in FL. Most people have that in MPC Live. Whatever dial you reach to is what you reach to. And I want to ask you, how did it go from, hey, I love making beats to saying, oh my God, I made my first sale? What was that time like?
Well, I actually my second foray into making beats, because I at some point I had stopped doing it. And so I got back into it because my brother, my little brother, shout out to Junior, he was beginning to rap, and I was like, man, you know what? Let me pick this up. Let me pick up FL. I ended up picking FL up at this time because I know he's gonna need tracks. So I really got back in because I was still writing and stuff like that, doing my other artistic stuff. So it was kind of out of necessity, both times. But that last time, it was because of him. And so when my brother, he's not like me in the sense of that if he gets tired of doing something, he's done. You might have to kind of like pull his, hold him hostage to get him to do it again. But for me, it's a constant thing. So um, I always thought that I could, do what I was doing, but it's when a person hears what you're doing artistic. Because I was posting stuff, like I said, on MySpace all the time, and just so happened, the barbershop I went to, one of the guys that was a barber, and he was a poet, and his wife was a singer. And one day I was in the barbershop. We were talking about, we were having a conversation about music, and he was kind of like blown back of what I knew musically. Like, man, you do this? He asked me kind of what I did or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that or whatever. And I said, you get some time, go on my MySpace page, and I got stuff that's up here, up on the page or whatever. But mind you, I was still working with my group effort with me and my homeboy Will. So as we began to slow down because of family obligations and stuff like that on his part, uh, more people started to more people collectively started to see what I was doing. So long story short, that barber I was talking about, his wife was working on a project, and just so happened, I think I might have that old MacBook you're talking about, the unibody heavy
The
joint.
heavy
I had,
unibody.
yeah. So I would bring that with me to the barbershop when I'm waiting. I would go. By this time, I think if I'm not mistaken, he had moved next door to a spot. Him and his wife then. So like, I would come out and let them hear stuff. Like, man. So I end up placing, man. I probably played 4 beats on her first album. So the feeling, because at this time I'm not knowing what to charge for tracks. I'm just doing it, but I eventually want to make the money off for doing what I'm doing. But like, she was the first artist that came to me for production, so I was able to do about, I want to say 4, but I'm almost certain it was 5. Anyway, the feeling when I got that money in my hand, I probably charged like $100 a track or whatever. Then, so I'm like, dang, like,
Yeah, let's differentiate. Then, not now.
then, not now, then. We're talking 2007, maybe 2007, 2008, maybe, might be earlier than that. But anyway, remember I remember the exchange. How I felt, like getting paid for something that you love to do, like that. But I was invited to the album release party, of course, and she had a live band replaying my tracks, and
Wow.
I was like, that was the most surreal moment for me because I'm sitting there listening, like, I know that's my track, man, but the way they're approaching it from this live feel and it was just surreal, man. So I was like, that kind of gave me the mindset and the intuition to be like, you know what, keep going, because you pretty much own to something. So I just like I said, my work ethic when it comes to making music, making beats, it'd be times, man, where I would even go to bed at night. My wife would be like, "You coming to bed?" I'm like, "I'll be there in a minute." And I would make beats, and I would fall asleep at the floor by my computer, and while the beats and stuff going, I get up and So that's how dedicated I was then. Because when I got that little jolt of energy and that exposure, I'm like, okay, now it's time to up the ante a little bit. So I just kept on doing what I was doing, kept learning, kept trying different stuff, different equipment, things like that. And then the second come around to where her next album, I think out of 13, let's say hypothetically, out of 13 tracks, I was responsible for 11 of them. And
Wow.
so then,
That's
so
executive
then,
production level.
right. And so then after that, the poet I was set, her husband, he ended up doing his project. And I think out of, let's say, 12 joints, I had like 8 or 9 of them. So it's like, once I got that going, I'm like, okay, now, you know, that just gave me the fuel to keep going because I knew I was on to something then. So, you know,
So
but
I mean,
that feeling is crazy.
it's listen, not to be ghetto, but
Hmm.
that feeling to me was like this. It was at the time when I lost my spot, homeless. I knew the motel was $1.50 a week.
Mm.
I knew I liked to smoke a lot of weed, and I knew I liked to eat. And we lived in New York. I was
Oh
like,
man.
I was like 3 a beat off top. It was like 3 a beat off
Right.
top because I had to always formulate. I like to go and get 100 no's because
Right.
100 no's mean 10 yeses. 100
Right.
no's means 10 yeses. So I would get, nah, we ain't into it. Nah, we ain't into it. Next. I'm gonna try. I gotta throw 100 shots a day because like
Right.
I need to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like I need to eat, and
Right.
that's the lesson. You start off on MySpace, and now you're on YouTube. And I always ask this to producers a lot because I think that this conversation needs to be in the forefront. And anybody who's seen my interviews knows that I'm a social media manager by day. In terms of all the platforms, what has been the best converter for your business? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
I can tell you it's not Facebook. Shout out to Facebook though. But you know what? I want to say like I'm usually more active on IG and YouTube. Like usually, um, you know, I used to just post to be posting. Then I started formulating different stuff. Like, man, you know what? I want to start posting on Sundays because like on most of my playlists, you'll see like I had Sundays on the MPC 3000,
Mm-hmm.
where I would just make stuff on the 3000 on Sundays, and I would just do stuff, and like when it starts to pick up traction or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, I just start doing more frequently. So like a lot of times people, um, you know, I love YouTube for the standpoint of is that you can find anything on there, whether it be music, whether it be DIY stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I just it's more so I put it out there for people to gain access to it or whatever, but I love Instagram as well because somebody's always discovering something on Instagram. So I like both of them um, because a lot of times on YouTube people are looking like IG I think people are looking to be entertained or they're looking for something to to be entertained, right? But with YouTube people are looking most production based stuff on YouTube. People are tuning in mostly to see if they can learn something from what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And that's
And
hold on before you move on. I'm going to cut you off. 2 things. Number one, big shout to Beat by Lonze. Big shout out, another great producer. Big shout out to
yes,
him.
shout out to him, man. And he ended up copping the 61 key, man. Like, hey, I'm a fan of what he does, man.
Mm-hmm.
I really, man. Shout some praises out to Beats by Lonze, man. Straight up.
What you said is very key. And as a social media manager, when I talk to clients and things of that nature, I always say every different platform is like a different hood. And it converts
Right.
different. It converts different. You heard what he just said. What DiggaHertz just said. On YouTube, it's more like a tutorial for people who want to know about the gear. But on Instagram, I notice when it comes to a lot of producers, they convert artist attention for possible sales because
Right.
it could be the same video, but it converts different per platform, per reasoning. And there's no rhyme or reason. And the reason says, big shout out to Facebook, but it's not Facebook. Facebook doesn't seem to be a heavy converter for production, point blank, period. And it's not just you. It's not just you.
No.
So it's usually IG and TikTok for the most part.
Right.
And that's why
I haven't
YouTube
got.
Shorts.
I haven't got into that yet.
I
I've been
think you
trying to
should,
see.
brother. I think you
I've
should.
been looking at ways I can do it because everybody in my family uses TikTok except me. So,
Well,
so
but like this is your interview. I will say this is a gem to you and anybody watching. I don't know everything, but I know one thing. There's my son. I don't know everything, but I know one thing to be true. TikTok is for people like me with bad ADHD, right? So there are different ways. If you have production, you just have to be yourself totally. Personality, you can do your beat plays like you do normally on whatchamacallit, but you just got to show people that you're there and you have to post. I think live streaming is the way on TikTok, but you got to get to a particular degree of followers. But
right.
post as much product. What I would tell people, if you have a bunch of videos on YouTube or a bunch of videos on IG, go to TikTok.com. Here's a gem for people that don't know. And on TikTok.com, you can schedule your videos to automatically post on whatever day and whatever time. That's a gem to producers. So let's say I'm consulting DiggaHertz right now. I'm like, DiggaHertz, you got like over 100 or so hot YouTube videos. Great. Let's clip them bad boys up to 2 minutes. But Khalif, I thought that TikTok only does 60 seconds. No, now TikTok's algorithm is really pushing towards videos that are over 2 minutes. Second, TikTok's algorithm is really pushing more towards the horizontal view versus the regular phone view, because TikTok is trying to compete with YouTube. But in terms of conversion, it's about showing your personality. You don't have to dance, because I'm not into shucking and jiving. If that's not me, it's not me. I'm not a dancer. The reason I became a DJ, because I don't know how to dance. Period. That's why I can become a DJ. I'm a king two-step. So let me repeat. Take your content from other app platforms and repurpose it to TikTok, because it's just people. It's the thumb. You got to think about this. What can I grab them with? Get them, go. If you have already like 100 videos on another platform, take them, clip them up to 2 minutes, and then say, hey, link in bio, or to purchase this beat, hit my link in bio, and drive that traffic. Drive that traffic. Go to TikTok.com and set your tracks to automatically post. Now let's get to math. If I'm a producer, I am, but let's say I'm really on that production. I'm trying to sell beats to make a profit. I know that there's 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. There's 20 weekdays a month. If I already have a bunch of beats posted elsewhere, I'm posting 5 times a day. Not me posting, me repurposing 5 tracks.
Right.
And then 5 times 20 is what? 100. Now, some people might say, oh my God, I ain't got time for that. Well, you don't want to make bread. I'm sorry. Everybody's different. If you have your content posted elsewhere and that's not converting, bring it to somewhere that converts. And TikTok and IG are the biggest converters.
Right.
But and if people say, well, you're lying, whatever, I'll keep it very simple. You know what videos get a lot of traction? Cooking videos. Why? Because what do cooking videos do that producer videos don't? Anytime you see a cooking video, you type in ribs, how to make ribs, they're going to show you how to make it. They're going to quick edit it and give it right to you.
Right.
And then they're going to do what? They're going to direct you to their spice blend or their cookbook. So why isn't that producers are not directing people to make sales or build relationships? Everybody doesn't know everything about the internet. But one thing I'm stressing to any producer that's watching this, take different platforms seriously. Your beats are not meant to live and die on your hard drive. I say this in every interview. Real talk. Sorry. Any response from based on what I just said, anything that's making your brain go, well, maybe, maybe not.
Right.
No, I'm asking you. What do you think about what I just said?
Hey, it makes perfect sense, and and it's funny because that's not the first time I've heard that. But if more than one person is driving that point home, it might be something to look into, whether it's me or whether it's somebody who's looking for a different avenue to showcase their skills and their talents and stuff like that. So
Yeah, because
most
right now
definitely.
there's a huge debate on direct to consumer on Twitter right now, with James Blake launching, I believe, the Vault app, because he's tired of streaming services taking money from producers and artists, and they're not having an
Oh
exclusive
wow.
right to their products. So James Blake, he's worked with Kanye and different artists. He created, or he's in partnership to create something called he launched the Vault app, where you can have subscription only or direct sales and get exclusive content. So it's like a Patreon for artists.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's that's
so what I would
that's
ask you though, tell me about your projects. What do you got looking forward to for this year? We're about to round off the first quarter of the year. Projects, are you into the beat tape thing, or are you into like working with artists and doing full projects? Every producer has their own situation, their own preference.
I'm down with all of it. But what
He's like, listen, sell
listen,
away.
man. Let's just do it all because you don't want to limit yourself to one particular facet of all. I mean, facet
Mhm.
of it. So, for myself, you know, actually, right now I'm working on finishing up some stuff with a group effort that I have with one of my, well, I say one of a couple of my compadres in my collective. Shout out to the Dirty Old Men.
Matter of fact,
Um,
speak more on that. The floor is yours.
okay, so again, did I lose you? But anyway, so working on a project called For the Win with my man's DJ Widebody out of New Jersey, out of Florida by way of New Jersey, and my man Fields, who's out of Charlotte, North Carolina by way of Detroit. So we have like a three-headed monster here, man, with the beats and the rhymes and stuff. So we're working on that part. I'm also finishing up a project that me and the late great Black Mav, shout out to him, rest in peace to Black Mav. We had a project called Cease and Desist, where we're approaching, some stuff that I don't want to say too much about it. I don't want to, kick myself out of a situation, but I'm finishing up that stuff for us to release that pretty soon. So between working on the collective stuff with FTW for the win and the stuff with me and Black Mav, just trying to tie the loose ends and connect with anybody who's willing to really put some work in. So that's about it.
Yeah, I know what I said was the floor was yours, and I'm glad you just went in. He's like, "Did you lose me?" No, you didn't. I heard it. I heard
Right,
it.
right.
No, but the thing is, when I give an interview, I'm like, "Yo, the producers." One thing I'm a super advocate for is producers putting themselves in the front, because we as producers always put ourselves in the back of an artist
Mm,
situation, or put ourselves in the back of a sync. Like we grew up in an era where the producers were superstars. And that's the difference between when we grew up, and mind you, we're in the same era, to what it is
mm,
now. And I think that like we grew up in the Pete Rock, the Premiere, the like remember when the remix was the remix, like you know what I mean? Like was it an
yeah.
official Pete Rock remix, DJ Premier remix? Like you knew when that producer name was there, you would feel their essence. And I think producers need to be in the forefront, which is one of the reasons I'm like, yeah, the floor is yours. And let me give everybody an
Right.
example. Digga's talked a lot, but I pulled this up. I want y'all to hear some more. I just want y'all to for real hear some more. You hear that MPC 3000 grit? Let's go. I wish I had a 3000. I'm not going to hold you. Maybe when I grow up. And you got that looking clean. Did you get work done on that? Do you buy it like that?
No, see me when I buy gear, and most of my people know this. When I buy gear, man, I clean it up and I take good care of all of my equipment.
That
So
look
if
like
I
a
sell
beautiful
something,
car.
man, when I sell something, it's in pristine condition, man. Because I believe in even when I just believe in having everything clean around me like that, especially my gear.
That thing looked like a clean vehicle. Real talk. The wood grain. What they know about that LCD screen is the only screen you got life. You feel me? What's
Right.
that? What's that?
And so this, and I'm blurred out too. You can't really see it. So like you see it now, but
I see it now, yeah.
this is pretty much, man. This is my pride and joy. Like I can get rid of everything else, and I won't even care. But this here, this my heart and soul. And I used to have two of these. I used to have the beige one as well, but I ended up selling the beige one In matter of fact, it had the wood on it as well. But yeah, this is my heart and soul, and I probably don't even use it as much as I should use it. But a lot of issues. It's not that it has issues, but they're not remaking a lot of the parts for these things anymore. So you got to be
Wow.
real careful and real delicate with it because the power. I mean, I had to get a power converter for. I'm trying to think, was it this or it was something I had to get a power converter for? It might have been. I used to own a 4000, so I think it was the 4000. But yeah, so the older equipment, the parts aren't there like they used to be. So you
Oh
kind of
yeah,
trying to be
I know.
with your older stuff, you need to be a little bit more delicate with it. So.
The oldest thing I have in my house is the Ensoniq ASR 10. That's the oldest thing I have in
Mm.
my house. And that key bed, if it fails on you, good luck.
Oh man, I
Good
always
luck.
wanted one of those. I always wanted one of those.
Yeah, I'm about to sell it though. I'm not gonna hold you because I don't like holding on to gear that I'm doing nothing with.
You,
Period.
right?
And I'm not gonna feel
Yeah.
bad. I'm of the age I'm not gonna feel super bad. But I would do want to ask you a question for people like me who've never owned a 3000. I've never the MIDI syncing feature. Like I would always see the pictures with Dre, and he would sync it to keyboards and sync it to this. Like, have you utilized the multi sync feature where it was the actual MIDI production center controlling everything in your house?
Mm-mm. Because usually when I hook that up and I'll put it like this. Back, I would say back when I was using the XL primarily, when I had the XL, like this was 2000, maybe seven, maybe when I had 2008. I, I would use because my Excel was the brain, so I would use Reason. Reason was my sound module because I didn't know how to make beats in it. So Reason was my sound module, and so even with the older Excel, I was able to craft my beats using the Reason as a sound module. I guess if that makes sense, using that as a sound module,
You used
and
to
with the
use
help of
the MIDI bay, like the two MIDI ins and outs, and then the USB into Reason.
right. So like so what was I using? I had no, I had, I'm sorry, I had an inbox. I had a Avid Pro box, Pro inbox. I'm sorry, Pro Tools inbox. And so like I would open up Reason and like whatever sounds I wanted to use in Reason, I would do my drum program in the Excel and open up Reason or whatever. And so I was able to keep the MIDI sequence and everything. I would rename the track and stuff like that. But when I opened up Pro Tools, I was able to I guess use the rewire. I guess that's what it
Mm-hmm.
was. Rewire and track out my MIDI information to audio. So I had everything I needed then. So, but like now, mainly when I use it now, I don't have to have to control everything, but I usually MIDI it up when I'm ready to dump a track after I'm done, with the bare bones of it. So, so I don't know if I lost you again. I'm just here, but no, but I ain't using like Dre used it, man. But like I thought about doing that at one point, but with everything that I own, because I one day I want to be able to hook up everything that I own and just have it work as one big happy family. But I ain't got to that point yet. So
Yeah, like listen, but let's Dre forking and sharing over some of that billion. There ain't no way I'm
no,
having
yeah,
that
no,
money. Yeah, but listen,
no
no,
question.
listen. Congratulations to him on his Walk of Fame star and setting the precedence for us all. Because
Well deserved.
I still just study Dre's tracks to this day. Like sonically,
Right.
it is him and DJ Quick. I listen to
I was
more
about to say,
Quick than
man.
Dre.
I was gonna say you probably, man. Quick is so slept on. He's so criminally slept on. Not just as
Criminally
a
slept on.
not just as a producer, but I'm just talking about as a sound person who's into sound. He's People talk about Dre and Dre's ear for mixing and mashing and all that stuff, but Quick and his sonics, man, jeez, it's
It's
crazy.
I still listen to like that song he did with Raphael Sadiq at least once a month, just for the
Oh
snares.
yeah,
Just for the
yeah,
snares and the bass. I know Raphael's on the bass, but the tonality of
right,
the bass over the like him, like Quick and Battle Cat to me are my like in my top five.
yes,
And from a
and
New York
and,
people in New York, you would hate when I say that. I'm like, you can hate all you want. It's Battle Cat and Quick are in my top five. I don't care what nobody tells me.
both are 3,000 users.
See, but you know what? I saw a video. I saw a video today on BattleCat explaining why he loves Reason, because he can
Yeah.
pull up all the racks that is in his studio in that Reason rack and just produce on the road.
Wow.
And I didn't think about it
Man,
like that.
he has a 3,000 video, man. It's old, but
The
man,
Cali is active beat.
yes.
Doom, doom, doom.
I have to watch that video. That video will do one or two things, man. It'll inspire you to go create some shit, or it'll deflate you to where you're like, man, I'm really not doing what I need to be doing.
But but
So
but 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 look, and we can look at your videos as well. It's kind of like that internal funk, that internal groove that can't be quantized. That's what BattleCat has. He has his internal groove. Like when he hits some drums, boom,
yeah,
the doom, and then he's on that bass line. You have your internal groove. When you have the off beat into the start, and then it's boom, it beats, and then the way that bass nestles under the drums. That's your style. Everybody has a style. Everybody has a style, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview. And I thank you for taking the time tonight to do this interview,
oh
because
no
I
question.
I think it's very important. You know, I'm not from Memphis, but like you said earlier in the conversation, or before we even got on live, it's like you said, well, I know people only think of 3 6 Mafia. They shouldn't only think of 3 6 Mafia. Like, and I love 3 6.
Right.
I
But you
love
know
the.
when that's all, but when that's all you're being exposed, that's all you're being given. Like if you were to come here, man, on a weekend, just on a weekend alone, you would know that you would see, you know, different types of music being celebrated all over the city or whatever. And even on a hip hop level, we know we have a legendary group here we call the Iron Mike Coalition. Shout out to them dudes, man. The man, one of the main conspirators of mine, and I hate him. His name is Jason the Hater, and so he stole the show like all the time, and he's discovering new and younger MCs who's coming up on the path and stuff like that. So on any given day, you can see a myriad of artists, like and it to be and keep it a buck with you. When you think about the overall sound of what's going on in the world right now, the whole trap this and trap that or whatever. Basically, what you're hearing is the Memphis formula of making music from '89 to about shit to now. Because I mean, the influence is there.
You know how you can prove that point? If anybody's watching this or watch the replay and say, "Oh, he just saying that because he's from Memphis," if you think he's lying, go type in YouTube Memphis mixtapes 90s. Just type it in, and you're gonna hear the same drum patterns that are on the radio right now, the same flows that are in a lot of verses now. And again, I'm from New York saying that because I fell in love with 3 6 Mafia and learned about the Memphis style when I went to my HBCU. And the thing that's beautiful about historically black colleges, it's all, like people say, oh, that's black people. No. It's all types of us black
All
folk
types
together.
of
And
right.
I learned, especially, when I was pledging my fraternity, you know what I'm saying? That's all I listened to was 3 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I listened to. I was like, let's get it. That was like a morning jolt of New York coffee. But the
Right.
beat, the drums, the energy is unmatchable. But real
And
talk.
people would, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, and people would think that when you think about how, and that's not to say that, 3 6 is not historic, they're not legendary, but man, if you would see the other people that kind of, paved the way before they became the household name, I said before we talked about 8 Ball, MJG, those are just the luminaries that you hear because those people have more of a national standing. You don't know people don't know about the Player Flies, or they don't know about Gangsta Black. They don't know about you know SMK. I mean, I can have a whole conversation about SMK and how much he influenced even one of people's favorite producers on this whole landscape. But it's like so many. It's so much. Like I said, like I was telling you earlier, man. There are so many people that have an integral role in the arts here, not just on some hip hop shit, but even on a soul level, a jazz level. One of my good friends, shout out to Yellow P, man. He's a blues harpist. He's cold with it. Like he does blues, he does funk. He also plays the guitar, man. He does so much. And like I said, he's a child of the city. He grew up on the same stuff I grew up on or whatever. But his art took him in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's just dope. It's a dope place to be, man. Even if you're just visiting, you'll see that it's like a hotbed for all kind of talent and all kind of different types of music and stuff like that. So,
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. You keep on talking about visiting. I gotta visit because one thing I want to do is eat that great food down there. Real
oh
talk.
man, yeah, the real barbecue, man. People, people
Now
be
you
they
starting
they
wars. Now you
nah,
starting wars.
I'm just being real. And I'm not even biased, man. I've had barbecue other places, man, but ain't nothing like down south Memphis barbecue, man. Nothing.
Listen, I gotta try it. And I look forward to like most definitely getting into it. Well, real quick before we end the show today, what are and this is very important. I'm about to say it. I'm not trying to go deep, but it's true. I had a friend a long time ago who was a gospel producer. True story. I'm not gonna air his name
Hmm.
out, stuff like that. But he passed away from anaphylactic shock. And before he passed away, everybody was looking forward to the beats that he was going to release because he was working with gospel artists, gospel rap artists, and different regular artists and things of that nature. And he died with all his tracks in his desktop. What are the reason I'm saying that is to ask you, what are the main projects, passion projects of yours that you're trying to release? And now, before I do that, because I'm a businessman, I'm not saying shell out ideas. I'm saying, are there some passion products you're trying to release for yourself? Because I think that the producer, before I end this question, producers, as I said earlier, the focus is, oh, I'm making beats for this artist or I'm doing this for that. But when it comes to you and leaving your legacy, are there any passion projects that you're looking forward to releasing?
I think I got one in mind, but right now my real passion is finishing up this cease and desist project, man, because it meant so much to me. The person, my man who passed away, like I said, Black Mav. Shout out to Black Mav, his family. Rest in peace to him. We we talked about this project, man, before he passed. Like this project was like at least 4 or 5 years in the making or whatever. And he passed about I'm sorry, he passed away 3 years ago. Be 3 years ago, July. And if anybody knows about the Dirty Old Men Collective, man, like we're a bunch of producers. We're family men. A lot of us are family men, but we are practitioners of the art. You know, in every aspect of it. We're producers. We're MCs. We're videographers. That collective is and DJs. Don't let me forget the DJs. We're a close knit group. And like I said, with me and him, we were like peas in the pod. We were kind of like kindred spirits or whatever. And our love for silly comedy stuff and like being funny and stuff like that, that was our thing. And so like when I came to him with the idea, because he's more prevalent in releasing music than I was. I'm like, I'm making stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll do something with it later. With him, he was like, man, I'm making this stuff to put it out. I ain't making it to sit on it. So when we finally came up with the idea to do something, and we found out what our sample source was going to be. So we would trade beat ideas, and we had a meeting, and we formulated everything out. Sort of like the last time I saw him, last time we were all together, we were like, yeah, we're gonna need to do this right here. We're gonna finish it up. We're gonna add vocals to it, this, that, and the third. Well, every year, the Dirty Old Men Collective, we go to out of town somewhere. We go somewhere so we can fellowship, make beats, make music, come out with a project at the end of the year, whatever. So the last time I saw him, we were doing what we usually do on a yearly trip or whatever, and a lot of us caught COVID, and we all caught COVID. Everybody within the collective caught COVID except one person, my man Fields, and when he went home, man, days later after that, after the diagnosis, he ended up passing away. So
Wow.
if I don't do anything else for myself, uh, I want to do this project, man, because it's to me it's like unfinished business that he couldn't finish while he was here. We couldn't do it together, so I'm doing it so that I can put that to bed and I can just see it flourish or whatever. So I'm really passionate about that project. But after I do that, do those things that I have other commitments about, then I can kind of focus on doing the things that I put on the back burner because I'm always being a facilitator. I'm not taking my jump shot. I'm making sure I set the table for somebody else.
Hmm.
But I got some stuff that I want to I want to put out there. I want to do, and like time ain't we ain't promised time. We ain't promised
That's a
tomorrow. We ain't
fact.
promised the next 5 minutes. So I battle with that from time to time because I'm not a procrastinator, but I'm a person that's like, you know what, I'd rather work with somebody who's full fledged into working on something than saving for myself, and I'm not just letting it just
But
collect dust or what
but
have you.
didn't you
So
say you're a singer?
I am. So that's one of the things too. So that's one of the things. That's one of the things too. I'm getting more like we was talking earlier before we went live or whatever, and it's just about how I'm learning. I'm having to learn how to practice duality with the artistry. So of course I'm a producer, but no, don't too many people know I sing. No, don't too many people know that I MC. So that's why the other project I said before with the for the Win project is so important because a lot of people within the collective know I rap, but a lot of people don't know that I sing. So I want to be able to use all of these things I'm working on right now to kind of showcase that. Then after I do that, I can finally lend my time and my artistry to the things that I really want to do. Once I finish those things up, because those things are like I won't say that cease and desist is a passion project, but the other stuff is kind of like what I do when some people enlist my services. So yeah, so that's about it. And like the whole dying empty thing, I'm starting to buy into that mindset because like
Yeah,
you said,
that
you can't
DJ
take it
Jazzy
with you.
Jeff. That DJ
Yeah,
Jazzy Jeff video is life changing. But tell the
yeah.
people who haven't seen it what that's about. I'm about to try to pull it up right now. Go ahead. I'm trying to find it.
Man, I heard he had a speech, man. That so I guess like they had like a conference or something like that, and there was a whole bunch of people together, musicians and singers and songwriters, and he had a speech where he talks about, oh man, I wish I could find it. It's on the Chasing Goosebumps album, by the playlist if anybody wants to go. And I can't remember it verbatim, but he just goes into this tirade to where he was just saying, man, listen, you know, instead of letting stuff just pile up on your hard drive, you know, sell some, get some away, but don't leave
Yep.
nothing.
You remember it
Don't leave
verbatim.
anything.
You
Yeah.
remember it verbatim because he was sitting there with the white shirt and
hmm
he was like, I was talking to Lord Finesse and he was like, what are you doing with all these beats? And you're not doing
Right.
anything with them. Yo, when he said die empty, guess what I thought about? Parable of the Talents. Then guess what I thought about? All my homeboys that died with albums in their computer. And that's why I'm interviewing now. I'm like,
Right.
you have to know your lane. Some people are generals. Some people are in the field, like really fighting it out. Some people
Soldiers.
are intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Some people are mechanics. You have to know
Right.
your lane, and the thing is, know your lane and your season. And the Power of the Talents, when it comes to this production thing, I have beats, but right now, I always say to myself, me, not you, and I'm gonna get to you in the singing thing. When I'm gone, what can my children see of me that they'll be proud of?
Right.
So for any producer watching this, for any artist watching this, listen to what Digga just said. I deal with the duality. All creatives, we all deal with duality. I like interviewing. I like DJing. I like producing. I can rap and I like being an artist. But who am I in this season? And what am I supposed to sow so that I can reap later?
Right.
And then what is that legacy? So I'll encourage you, DiggaHertz. I encourage you by sharing something you that I told a couple other producers on a phone chat. Big shout out to DC Carson and Civil Days Music. This is what I told us to. I
Oh,
said,
you know Dave's son.
yeah, I'm close with, but yeah, both of them. Me and Dave's son
Okay.
stay on the phone. So you know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's my guy right there, Dave's son, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dave's son, simple, man.
I told him, I say, yo, just imagine for a year, would you be comfortable that in 12 months you made 12 rap albums, an album a month, but it was you, just all you produced, all you, or you sung every song, or you put a whole bunch of beats and you have singles with artists? What would be the most satisfying point? Whatever gets you excited out of those options, that's where you should go. Because I think that, like you said about the working out thing, I think as producers, we are chronic overthinkers. All of us. All of us. For instance, my hard drive crashed. I was shut down last week. On Facebook, you can't tell, but then again, I'm a social media manager, so a lot of it was automatic posts. But whatever. We'll talk about that another day. But like, because my pages post 100 times a day. we can talk about that on another day. But the thing is, what am I supposed to do in this season with my gift? And what is going to leave the legacy? And as producers, some producers die with their legacies in their desktop, die with their legacies never utilized. But like DJ Jazzy Jeff said, what DiggaHertz just shared, just put it out, and it's going to create room for you. Why? Because your gift creates room for you. So I'll say it again to anybody watching. If you can take the next 12 months and make beats where you rapping or singing over it, and you said, yo, I just did 12 projects for myself, would that be satisfying? Or if you just got with artists and went guerrilla with it, meaning like guerrilla marketing, went guerrilla with it and say, I'm going to work with artists a week, and it's 52 weeks in a year, would you be more satisfying having 52 tracks or 52 artists? Whatever area excites you, just go for it. But because like DiggaHertz just says, we ain't promised tomorrow. Damn, we ain't even promised the next 5 minutes. What are you going to do?
Real talk.
And not to get super deep and end the interview off with that way, but I want to give you the floor for the last 5 minutes of the interview to really share people on your movement, tell them your pages, and just tell them what's going on. The floor is yours. I haven't disappeared. The floor is
Okay, cool, man. So like I said, thank y'all guys for watching, man. Like I said, DiggaHertz on pretty much on Instagram. DiggaHertz, you can catch me on YouTube, man. I post beats probably 3 or 4 times a week, depending on how I feel. Instagram, like I said, Instagram and YouTube. Thank you for everybody watching, man. Shout out to the city of Memphis, man. All our creators here, man. Shout out to my crew, the Dirty Old Men. Shout out to my family for, man, putting up with me for all these years and doing this music shit. But again, man, thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for just, taking time out to watch a little cat for me, like me from Memphis, man. I'm stammering, but yeah, but just thank y'all for the love and the energy that you give to creators like myself, man. And let's just, keep supporting each other, keep this thing going. Peace.
Thank you so much for joining this interview. And I've been stammering the whole interview, so I've been saying a million times, so you ain't got nothing to worry about. But you know what I'm saying? Just thank you for joining the interview. Everybody follow DiggaHertz on everything. But like I always said, support the producers. Hit him in his Cash App. Hit him in his inbox. Bless producers. Because this equipment ain't free. Wi-Fi ain't free. And he's a creative. Support and pay producers. Thank you, DiggaHertz. Don't go anywhere, because after this ends, we're going to talk a little bit. But thank you for taking your time out tonight to speak to me. Everybody, thank you. Share this video. Follow him. It don't cost no money to subscribe to his YouTube channel. It don't cost no money to share his beat videos. Share his videos. Fund this producer with his endeavors. Look out for his projects. Thank you for taking the time out, brother. And everybody watching this, make a better track today. I am your host, Power+Influence. Thanks again. Peace.